Welcome to episode 72 of 100 Songs. Today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite bands, Tad. Definitely my favorite band coming out of the Seattle grunge scene, and a band I've spent countless hours listening to over the years and still go back to it quite a bit. Just love this band. And so I was excited when the Wheel had chosen my selection for this video series, which is Eddie Hook. So we'll talk a little bit about Eddie Hook. It's actually a B-side song, so a little different having a B-side appear on this list, but it is a great song. We'll listen to part of it here in a few minutes. So Tad came about in 1988 in Seattle and was active through most of the 90s until sometime in the late 90s. So they got a good 10 years or so of real activity. And I got into Tad probably early 90s. Right around 8-Way Santa, because of a show I went to. So we'll talk about that too in a couple of minutes here. So Tad was part of the Seattle grunge explosion. They were definitely heavier, noisier, and less accessible than a lot of what we got out of the grunge era. And the Tad is named after their leader, Thomas A. Doyle, or Tad Doyle. So if you take his initials, Thomas A. Doyle, you get Tad. That's where Tad comes from. And he and bassist Kurt Danielson found Tad, and they brought added another guitarist, Gary Thorstenson, and drummer Steve Weed to complete their lineup. Their debut album was God's Balls, and they toured as Nirvana's opening band during Nirvana's Bleach tour. And Salt Lick was the next album that came after God's Balls, and then 8-Way Santa came after that. 8-Way Santa was produced by Butch Vig, who produced Nevermind, of course, Nirvana's mega popular album. When I bought, I always think of God's Balls and Salt Lick as being one kind of big, fantastic album, because that's how it was sold back around the time 8-Way Santa came out. So 8-Way Santa was my first album, and then I could only go back somewhat into the catalog a little. Obviously, can only go back. And God's Balls, 8-Way Santa was 8-Way Santa. Jeez. God's Balls and Salt Lick were a package deal in the CD. And so it was a double LP, I guess. And it wasn't complete either. So a bunch of years later, I listened to the shit out of that double album. And then a bunch of years later, they came out, or came out with, or I found the regular versions of each of those, and they had additional songs on them. So it was almost like they picked certain songs off of each of those and then smashed them into one killer CD. And so going back, I was able to hear the complete versions of both of those albums. They started getting into a lot of legal problems right around the time 8-Way Santa came out. They had, first of all, a single off of 8-Way Santa was a song called Jack Pepsi. And the cover for Jack Pepsi was what you see here, where they clearly have used the Pepsi logo and not surprisingly, really, and they should have known better, but Pepsi came after them for using the logo, so they got in trouble, and had to reprint a bunch of these singles. And the bottom image is a cartoon of basically the song. The song is a story about going out on a Jeep on a frozen lake, and then drinking tons of Jack Pepsi, and then the Jeep breaking through the ice into the lake. And so they had to reprint, but that was really only the start of their issues. And I can't remember which of these two unfortunate things happened first, but the B-side for Jack Pepsi is the song Eddie Hook, which is the song I chose again. So the other issue they had, and I found the artwork, it's not that hard to find, but with 8-Way Santa, the original album cover, which I will put up right here, right now, is this image of these two people, and you can see 8-Way Santa there in the corner. That was the original artwork for this particular album, and they got sued again from, I think, this woman in the picture here. They found this photo in a garage sale or something and decided to use it for the album cover without permission, and so she was like, hey, you can't use my image. I could see why she wouldn't want it on record stores, all over the country. So they had to redo the album cover for that, which is the version that I have, and it's basically the band standing in a barn or something. And that's what I think of when I think of 8-Way Santa. I only ever saw this image years later, but it's the original image. So between these two album covers, over the course of 8-Way Santa coming out, caused them a lot of legal issues. So after this, they had their major label debut, which was Inhaler. And when Inhaler came out, it sounds so good to me. The mix on it, the bass and the drums. They actually got a new drummer between 8-Way Santa and Inhaler, and the new drummer sounded great, and the album sounds the best of all of their albums, I think. So I just love Inhaler. It was produced by Jay Mascis, of course, of Dinosaur Jr. fame, and came out in 1993. And when that came out, it seems like that's all I listened to forever. Just love that album. Then a year later, Gary Thorstenson left the band, and then Tad was a three-piece, and they came out with Live Alien Broadcasts, which was a live album, which was really cool. And after that, Infrared Riding Hood came out, and then that album received almost zero promotion. There's some issues with the record label, and it got basically no promotion. Sold very, very little. I was looking for it, and I got it when it first came out, but it didn't do well at all. It's a fun album. There's a couple songs. Well, I like all of the songs on it, but there's a couple songs on there that are on my my list of favorite songs from them. So Infrared Riding Hood, sadly, didn't do well, which kind of marked the end of the band. they kind of went through a lot. There's actually a pretty cool documentary about Tad, and I don't have the name of it off the top of my head. Shoot, what's it called? Something Ringing Ears, and something I can't remember, but it's a Tad documentary, and I liked it a lot. I was surprised that it existed, but there's some good stories in there, and they cover some of the issues they had, just being a band and the legal troubles and what have you. So I was super bummed after Infrared Riding Hood. They went away. They had another EP in there somewhere that had like 3 songs on it. Some Dude in the Mud was on the cover. I liked that. I think that came out before Infrared Riding Hood. Kind of when they were... I think that was the first thing that came out after they had their... they went back to being a 3-piece band. So afterwards, Tad Doyle went on to form Brothers of Sonic Cloth, and has done some other things and does other music. And I've listened to some interviews with him, lately, and a lot of things he's been dealing with in his life personally over the years. I'm fascinated by the guy. I think he's super talented. I love what he does with the guitar, and the band itself is just really fun too. One of my favorites. I could go on and on about it. So let me do a little show and tell. I've seen Tad 3 times live. I feel really lucky to have been able to see them. This is where I discovered Tad. Discovered them. You can see special guest Tad. They opened for Primus at the Crest Theater a couple episodes ago when I did Primus for this video series. I talked about this particular show this night. This was a fantastic night, and I'm not going to re-go into that, but that's in the Primus episode. But I was blown away. I saw Tad at that show. I was blown away, and then I was kind of on the lookout for them after seeing them there. I think that's when I bought 8-Way Santa. This was in 91, so that kind of makes sense. And then let's see, what was next? My favorite show of them in particular was this one here, Slim's. This great concert venue in San Francisco. If you've gone back when Slim's existed, it was Tad, Therapy, and Bark Market. Of course, I'm a big Therapy fan. I've covered them in this video series as well, and I got to see Tad and Therapy together in '93. That was a very fun show, and I actually have a keepsake from that concert. I got one of Tad's guitar picks was thrown into the audience, and I grabbed it, and I should go get that and show it. I didn't bring it for this video. Why? Last time I saw them was at the Boardwalk. Great venue back in the day. A lot of great shows there. And I saw Tad and the Mighty Clutch there together in 1995. So every time I've seen Tad, I've seen them with another really cool band. Saw them with Primus, saw them with Therapy, saw them with Clutch. God damn. Some of those concerts back in the day were so great. These bands in their prime, playing together. Just don't get too much of that, really, anymore. It's a very old man thing to say, isn't it? So, great shows. It was a lot of fun to see them live. I'm, again, very privileged to have seen them. The song Eddie Hook is the chosen song for my 100 songs list. This is one of my favorite Tad songs, if not my favorite Tad song. It's short. It's just under 3 minutes long. It's very simple. It's got a great bass line, couple verses, and then Tad just starts yelling and screaming at the end, which is, kind of how the song ends, actually. But what I love, and I love the whole song. I can listen to it on repeat. What I like so much about it, though, and what stands out particularly, is the guitar effect and the mix, or whatever it is, goes throughout the middle of the song. Again, it's a short song, but the whole middle of the song has this kind of not worrying, but like a phantom make. It's an ethereal sound. You can hear it going, left and right when you're wearing headphones. But it has this very just sonically great sound that pops in right after the first chorus, and then it persists up until the part at the end that picks up a little bit where he starts screaming. So I'm gonna play starting, I don't know, 15 seconds into the song, and that effect and the way that sounds it's it seems like it's kind of a Tad thing, because in God's Balls and particularly their first two albums, Salt and God's Balls, I hear this effect a lot in several of their songs, but it's really prominent here as well. Don't hear it as much in 8-Way Santa or even their other albums, but anyway, let's pick up. This is Eddie Hook.
Eddie ain't got no job. Eddie just rides his bike. Eddie don't have no friends. He don't know what girls are like.
You can really hear it now. It starts right here.
Eddie got his arm cut in the rollers of an old machine. Eddie knows a vacant lot where his hand grows cold and thin.
Here it is again.
Eddie's
So you can hear it throughout the whole song, but those little breaks before he starts the next verse and after the chorus, you really hear that effect playing, and it's kind of like this. But that's what it sounds like in my head anyway. And I just love that. I get lost in it. It makes me, remember those times, and just the sound is remarkable to me. Let's go ahead and listen to the next last minute of this song.
shines in the sun, hangs in his little bathroom. People laugh at some
Definitely a lot of effects being used there. Fun song, cool song, and just an all-around great band. Okay, so let's see what we've got in store for us next. Okay, we're going back to the 60s for our next episode. Real classic. We'll talk about it next time. Thanks. All right, I wanted to come back and after I had recorded the episode for Tad, Eddie Hook, I had referenced a guitar pick that I had. I wanted to show it really quickly, so I'm going to edit this in. And this is it. I got this guitar pick. It's hard to see, unfortunately, but that says Tad. And I got this guitar pick at the show in Slim's in San Francisco that I went to, that I was talking about. So wanted to show it. I had it in a little box of, I don't know, just bullshit from my life. And yeah, so I dug that up. So that's that. I also got a drumstick that same show. It was hurled out into the crowd, and it was like, it was busted a little bit. Well, not a little. It had a big, huge crack in it, so it got tossed, and I grabbed it, and I had that for years. I don't know what happened to it. I think when I moved about 10 years ago ish, that was 9 years ago. I think it may not have made it past that move, unfortunately. There's nothing marked on it. It was just a drumstick that was broken, but I got it thrown from the drummer Tad. But don't have it anymore. What are you gonna do?